Hi, Jason. If my faculty and residents could start putting their videos on, that would help me a lot. So for those of you who are not faculty and residents, I'm going to ask you to turn off your video cameras. It'll make a lot more sense once we get going. There's just too many people to see. Just give me a few minutes, everyone, to make sure I got everything right. I'm trying to make sure my own people are here. And just on our end, it looks like we are waiting for a few more residents. And then we can get started. While you're all sitting there, hi, how are you? I could do a little dance.
Can you guys hear me?
We hear you.
Oh,
we
good.
Hear you. We would have heard you without the mic. But I do have a few residents that I'm expecting, so I just want to make sure that they're here before we get started. Anna, if you see them join, let me know. Yeah, we're waiting for Matt and Ellen and Shlomo, and I just don't see them yet. Let's give it one more minute and we can always start without them. All right, well, it's 8:03, so let's get started. We do have a few more residents coming once they join. Anna, are you able to make someone else the co-host, or is that only I can do that? I'll tell you how. You hover over somebody's name over the more, and then it says make a co-host. So if somebody, oh wait, see if you can do it on Shlomo. See if you can make him a co-host. Hover over his name in the participants list where it says more, and then it should say make a co-host. You're talking, but I can't hear you because you're muted.
I don't have that option.
Okay.
I see the more over him, but when I click on it, there's no option that says make
I'll do it.
co-host.
If people come in later and I don't notice. I just want to make sure all of the residents are in case they need to be later. Okay, so welcome everyone. Wait, oh, Ellen's there now too. Okay, so all my residents and faculty are co-hosts so that once I leave, you still can run the meeting. So welcome everybody. I want to go through just a little bit of an introduction about our program, show you a few slides, tell you how this is really going to work. I can answer a couple of questions, but I also want to give you an opportunity to ask other faculty some questions. Then all of the faculty will leave, and then you can ask questions of the residents without worrying that we're there hearing what you're asking. So let me share my screen, and I'm going to just go over how this is really going to work. Okay, so welcome to our virtual open house. I do want everyone to know that this meeting will be recorded. We're going to post it later to our website and hopefully to social media if we can figure out how to do that. But I do need to tell you that if anyone does not want to be recorded, then you probably should leave the call because we are recording this. So your consent is your willingness to stay on the call. So I want to make this more of a usable format instead of just a giant Zoom call with your friends. So for people who are not Stony Brook faculty or residents, please turn off your video, turn off your microphone, but later when we get up to the Q&A portion, feel free to unmute so that you can ask questions. Questions you can do by speaking out loud, but keep your video off, or by just typing into the chat. Whatever you prefer, and we will try to keep our eyes on the chat so we can answer those questions or just answer questions that people say out loud. For all of you to make sure that you are seeing the right view, you should be on the gallery view, not the speaker view. We've all been doing Zoom for a long time, so I hope everyone knows what that means. Actually, I'm going to stop the sharing in 1 minute after I go over this so that you can practice doing it the right way. You don't want to see just the one big box of the one person speaking. I want you to be able to see all the panelists at the same time. Also, I want you to be able to essentially pin the panelists, so you shouldn't see empty black boxes. So in order to hide anyone who's not on video, you're going to follow these instructions here. So if everyone who's not a panelist turns off their video camera, hover over anybody's black box, doesn't matter who, you're going to look for the 3 dots and you scroll down and look where it says hide non-video participants. Then you're only going to see the Stony Brook people. You're not going to see a whole bunch of black boxes. How we're really going to do this, I figure I'll talk to you for maybe 15 minutes. I have a couple slides to show you about the program. If you've been on a number of websites, the AN website has some of these slides already. Then I'll hand it over to my other faculty. Then we'll all leave. So figure we'll leave around 8:30 so that you can ask other questions. I'm going to stop sharing just for a second so that you all have a chance to try what I'm saying. So if you just look on the top right of your Zoom call, if it says speaker view, it means you're in gallery view. So you're in the right view. And then find a black box that you don't want to see. I'm not seeing any, so apparently mine already worked. I don't know how. And if you go on those 3 dots and you say hide non-video participants, then you will only see the 8 of us and maybe 9 if somebody else comes. So if that's all good, let me go back to where I was. Okay, so just a little bit about Stony Brook. This is who is on our call tonight. I'm the program director. I'm really a neurohospitalist. I didn't do a fellowship after residency, and I mostly prefer hospital neurology. I don't really go to the outpatient office that much. My other speakers can tell you a little bit more about themselves when their turn comes, but Dr. Blond is one of our epilepsy attendings. Dr. Matthews, one of our stroke attendings. Dr. Caruana was a former stroke fellow here and is one of our stroke attendings. Eileen Cangiano-Heath was a resident and now is one of our epilepsy fellows. Anu Singh is one of our chief residents. She is going into MS next year. Matt Orwitz, who I believe is still rounding in the neuro ICU, is permanently going into neuro ICU. So I guess that he likes that. Ellen Song is one of our PGY2 residents who I don't think has made up her mind yet. And Shlomo is one of our PGY1. So if anyone has specific questions about really the medicine part of the training, he is the right person to ask. Although everybody else down there has also done medicine at Stony Brook. This is a very busy poster that you're obviously not going to read right now. However, I just want to highlight that we don't just have a neurology residency here. We also have child neurology residency. I don't know if anybody on this call is interested in child. And we have a number of fellowships. So we have a stroke fellowship. We have a neuroimmunology MS fellowship. We have a clinical neurophysiology fellowship, which is a combination of EEG and EMG. And we have an epilepsy fellowship. Anyone who wants to see this poster in more detail, I think this entire presentation is posted on the AAN website. If you look, there's a whole kind of residency fair permanent thing there where everybody has a little blurb about their program. The other really cool thing I would like to highlight is on our top right corner. We're super excited about this, but we did make the US News list for top neurology neurosurgery programs in the country. So we're number 41 in the entire country. So we're really super excited about that. Just in terms of pictures, you can see we have happy residents that all get along, and we have water and beaches, and there's a sailboat in the background. So you're going to hear, I know you're all attending lots of open houses, and everybody has great programs. Pretty much everyone that you talk to, every program that you consider, they're all going to have great clinical training. They're all going to have research. They're all going to have teaching opportunities. Most of them will have neuro ICUs. They're going to have epilepsy monitoring units. So we also have those. And I think sometimes it's helpful to look at what makes the different programs different, because a lot of things are the same. So in terms of what I think makes us stand out, as I mentioned, we did achieve this number 41 ranking in US News and World Report. Our hospital overall ranked number 10 in all of New York State out of more than 200 hospitals, which is also quite an achievement, especially when you consider how many hospitals there are just in the metropolitan area alone. I did want to mention that we have a 5+1 system. This is becoming more common, so some of you may have already heard of what that is. But basically, it means that our residents do 5 weeks of inpatient, could be stroke, could be neuro ICU, could be the general service, could be consults, and then a week of straight ambulatory. This is something pretty new for us. We're phasing it in. This is the first year. By the time your class gets here, it'll be in all years, the PGY 2, 3, and 4 years. So what it means is for that off week, it's going to be a little bit less rigorous, and you're getting a lot more outpatient exposure. So both your own patients, continuity clinics, and also specialty clinic exposure. So we're actually really excited about phasing this in. The other thing that's going to be new for us in the coming year is that we have always had night float for probably about 20 years in this program. But what we're going to be starting is a senior night float. So right now we have a junior resident, a PGY2 resident who is on at night covering the whole house, meaning our admitted patients on the floor service and the stroke service, as well as consults and ER. And then starting next year, we're also going to have a senior resident on at the same time, which we really think is going to add a lot to both the teaching that we have for that PGY2 resident, the supervision for that PGY2 resident, and just the overall experience. So that's a new thing that's coming down the road for us. Another thing that I wanted to highlight is that we don't have any private neurology attendings. There's no private neurology service. What that means is that every single attending that you interact with is a Stony Brook faculty member, not an adjunct, not somebody who's in the community who's sending in their patient hoping that you just do the right thing for that patient. But it means that the attending that you're with is the attending who's the attending for that patient, who's rounding with you, who's teaching you. And I think that really says a lot about our program. It makes your life much easier, and I think it enhances the teaching as well. I also want to talk just briefly about our mobile stroke unit. We have 2 stroke attendings on the call, so they can fill you in a little bit more later. but we have a mobile stroke unit. I mean, there is nothing cooler than that. We're giving TPA in an ambulance. We're getting CAT scans and CT angiograms in an ambulance before those patients even get here. So that's really, really awesome. Our stroke program here is really tremendous. We also have a very impressive cerebrovascular neurosurgery program that we really work hand in hand with. Again, education, lots of places have great teaching. What do we have that might be unique that you're not going to see everywhere? We have OSCEs. OSCEs, you all know what OSCEs are, even if you're not calling them that. These are simulated patients. So we have simulated patients. We have at multiple different levels for our PGY2s or PGY3s or PGY4s to really enhance their education. So we may look at how they deal with a stroke, how they deal with a code BAT, that's our acute stroke code, how they deal with a neurocritical care emergency, how they give bad news, all those kinds of things where it's in a controlled environment rather than, oh, well, you know, how did you do on the floor that week when you had a very busy day? So we have trained simulated patients that really are very good at this and a really wonderful relationship with our clinical skills center. And just in terms of location, we kind of have the best of both worlds here. So if you're not familiar with our area, we are on Long Island. We are out east on Long Island in Suffolk County, which means you have a suburban area. I mean, you can, every single picture on the slideshow is something in our neighborhood. This is Frank Melville Park. So if you enjoy the outdoors, that's all here. If you also want to get to New York City, it's a train ride or a car ride away. So you can get there within about an hour and a half on a typical day. So you really kind of have everything. A few other things, research. Again, most programs have some ability to do research. We do require our residents to do some type of scholarly research project. It could be a case report, it could be an actual, you know, research. It could be an educational project. We also have clinical research support staff here. Our residents, almost every single year, I say almost only because of last year being weird, present at the American Academy of Neurology meeting. So multiple residents have had posters and presentations. Each class year does a QA/QI project together as a group project. Our residents present at the end at grand rounds, and we have an annual resident research award. Teaching, everybody knows that the best way to learn is to teach. I'm also the clerkship director, so I have a very vested interest in making sure that our residents are good teachers. I teach how to teach. It's a lecture that we do every summer. They have didactic teaching responsibilities for the medical students, in addition to just teaching clinically on the floor. And then every year we give out a Best Teacher of the Year award for the residents. And this is just my own little hobby here, but if you don't know a lot about Long Island, and this is for my own faculty and residents too, if you don't know, Stony Brook and Setauket, which is the neighboring town, are really quite significant historically in the American Revolutionary War. We had one of the first big spy rings of the Revolution were based right in our backyard. So really, really awesome series on Netflix. It's 95% based on a true story. Highly recommend watching Turn. A little bit about what our residents do. PGY 1, 2, 3, 4 year. PGY 1, we are a categorical program, but our residents are really mostly on medicine that whole year. They do get 2 weeks of neurology. It's incorporated into part of this elective. They spend some time at the VA hospital, but the majority of their time is at Stony Brook. In the PGY 2 year, that's the first year they're mostly with us on neurology. They're going to have some inpatient neurology time. VA at that year is mostly outpatient neurology. They have time on stroke, the consult service, night float, outpatient. So our outpatient, remember, it's that 5+1 system. So it's 8 full weeks of just outpatient, nothing else, some elective. PGY 3, a lot of that time is spent doing consults, which no matter what they tell you is the best of the entire residency. Consults both at Stony Brook and the VA. Everybody in every program has equal requirements for psychiatry and child neurology. They also do neurocritical care. Night float, we're reintroducing again as of July. The current people have not done night float as seniors. And they're also going to have clinic weeks, elective, and vacation. And then the PGY 4, you're much more mature and senior, much more of a role as supervisor. So supervisor and teacher of both students. and junior residents. In terms of things like EEG and EMG, that's incorporated into that elective time there. This is just, you don't have to obviously memorize this, but just to give you an idea of how many lectures and conferences we have. Every day there's something. Every day there's something first thing in the morning, and then we often have things that come in the afternoon. So there's really a lot of opportunity for engagement that is interactive, didactic. Every summer we do boot camp. So instead of push-ups and sit-ups, which Eileen would like to do, we do neurology. So we do, how do you manage status epilepticus? How do you give TPA? Every summer, repeated. We also teleconference to some of our other sites so that our residents who are at the VA or maybe over in clinic can still participate. I'm not going to play our video now, but we had so much fun making this video. It's on our website, so if you haven't seen it, please go look at our video. It was a lot of fun to make. And tell Eileen that she did a really good job, because I told her that the Oscar went to Nick and she's feeling very left out.
Thank you very much, Dr. Harth.
I know there are probably some questions about COVID, so I just wanted to quickly address, we're in New York. We're pretty close to Manhattan, so we were hit pretty early and pretty bad. Fortunately, things are much, much better now. But just so that you know, Stony Brook at that time cared for about 1,500 patients, about a third of whom were in the ICU. We did have one of those field hospitals that was built on the other side of campus at Stony Brook University, as you know, was never used. Our survival rate was actually excellent, about 84%. A couple of interesting things. Stony Brook pioneered this whole respite area, wellness area for anyone to go use. They had games and snacks and videos and, I don't know, nice smelly things. I don't know. I didn't actually go there myself. But the residents really used this. And I think it says a lot about the institution that they cared for the residents' wellness in this crazy time when there were so many other things on their mind. As a hospital, there's a lot of research happening with COVID, some early clinical exposure to things like steroids when not everybody was using that yet. We are also a New York State testing site for COVID. A lot of stuff happening at the university level, at the hospital level for research. Neurology, Dr. Caruana, who's also on this call, has really engaged in a large stroke COVID database, which is pretty exciting. But of course, the best part about our whole department is the people. So I do hope that you get a few minutes to meet them and ask them questions and things like that. We're still new at social media, so if we didn't do it right, I'm sorry. If you sent us a message and we haven't found it, I'm sorry. But we're trying to get into it, and it's kind of fun. So that took way longer than I wanted, and I'm really sorry. But I want to make sure our other faculty do have a chance to answer questions. So why don't we just open it up for questions for me or the faculty for like 10, 15 minutes. Anything that you think is better for a resident, you can hold it. Or if it's something that you think is for anybody, you can ask away. But don't leave me sitting here in the dark here.
Hi, Dr. Hart. This is Dr. Ali Babar. I am an IMG. I wanted to ask you about the program requirements and how flexible or how firm are you on the requirements that's mentioned on the website, especially the year of graduation and the score cutoffs. If you can talk about that, please.
So the year of graduation, unless there's a real significant reason to be flexible, we're not terribly flexible about. And the primary reason is that when residents come here, they spend an entire year doing internal medicine. So we really need to make sure that that's pretty fresh in their minds. I'm fortunate because by the time our residents come to neurology, they've mastered medicine, but we don't want someone to really struggle for that entire year that they're on medicine. So right now we have listed as 5 years from graduation. So that's, and like I said, unless there's a particular reason or you've been working as a physician all those years, that's generally something that we do stick to.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Dr. Hart, hi, this is Atif from Nassau County NICOM. I had a question about the transition from PGY1 to PGY2. You mentioned that every summer there's a boot camp, but the first year the residents are doing medicine. Is there like an additional boot camp for them, or are they given, like, how is it traditional? Could you just talk a little bit about the tradition, about the transition from PGY1 to PGY2?
Yes, but I just want to clarify, boot camp we do for the PGY 2, 3, 4 residents all at the same time. So it's just our lectures that we do every single day in the summer. And the nice thing about that is that maybe you missed a lecture, maybe you were on night float and you missed a week of lectures. You'll hear them again as a PGY 3, you'll hear them again as a PGY 4. We do have sort of a one-day get ready for neurology day at the end of the PGY 1 year that Ellen can kind of tell you about. But in terms of the transition, I don't know, maybe Ellen, you're the most recently transitioned person, if you want to say anything about that.
So was your question just about like the boot camp for intern year, or?
No, I mean, what I actually, yeah, I mean, how the transition between PGY1 to PGY2, like, you know, you're doing medicine for about 8 months out of the year, and then now PGY2 starts up and you're going to be doing more neuro-focused, you know, medicine. So that's just what I'm asking. Like, is there something in the summer that happens to kind of prepare you for that? Or is it like a one-day course? Yeah.
So I think as an intern, we had a one-day orientation, and then we kind of just learned by starting rotations on neuro. So the boot camp runs through the first few months of your PGY2 year. So that's kind of how we transition.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Hannah. I'm from ASCOM. I'm a third-year medical student. I wanted to ask, how do you guys prepare your residents for taking their level 3 or step 3 boards, or if you give any assistance academically with preparing for that?
You mean the neurology boards?
Mm-hmm.
You mean the neurology boards?
The
Yeah.
USMLE step 3 or the neurology boards?
Oh, both?
The USMLE step 3 is something that I think most people take during their intern year when they're still kind of fresh with all of the topics from medical school, because you know it covers everything. And I really did not enjoy the OBGYN questions during my step 3 experience, which I no longer remembered. So that will be before your time as a neurology resident. For the neurology,
required. It's required.
oh, is it really? Okay.
By our
Then
hospital.
then it definitely will be.
In the first year of residency, yeah.
I had a friend in my program where it wasn't required. He said, "Oh, I'm doing medicine residency, so I'll be even better at it later on." And anyway, but as far as the neurology boards go, I think what many programs do is they have residents take an in-training exam called the Wright exam, which is an exam that is structured similarly to the boards and is predictive of boards performance. And I think also, like other programs, we have a review series of lectures I think it's the whole month before the Wright exam, right? Mm-hmm. That we have kind of lectures tailored to review of different topics to prepare residents. And I think that serves as a pretty good foundation for the boards. And then having a quality residency training overall and quality clinical training, I think is probably the most helpful thing for the boards in any place that you go.
Just a couple of things. Hi, I'm Dr. Heath. I'm probably going to have things to say across this board because I've been everywhere. Wright exam is every year in February. And yes, USMLE 3 years, you get that out of the way, done, your first year. You come to neurology, we would hope that you would take the Wright exam it starts from the very first time you step in neurology. It's offered every February. And like Dr. Blon was saying, yes, you are going to start, you have your boot camp, and then you kind of get like a refresher of all the series lectures for neurology. Again, it's like almost like a repeat of boot camp, but now the focus is extremely lasered on Wright exam questions and how to take the test. And we do 2 types. We do faculty driven, and they come in with, I must say, just amazing lectures. Questions that I've seen on their PowerPoints were directly out of the board, the Wright exam. Is very weird. But, and then we also do a self teaching with the residents. So every week, we kind of take some of our morning lectures and replace them with write lectures. So us as residents pick a topic, we use a book that we have available online for you, and then you present that topic to the rest of the residents in the morning, and then we discuss it and we do questions. So it allows like a faculty focus as well as a resident focus. And I found that that was very helpful because it forced me to look over, I don't know, just a topic like the tracks. And I'm like, God, I haven't seen the tracks in a long time. I know what they are, but now I'm forced to actually present that. And through presentation, you actually learn a lot, and it really does fit well. So
we
it's very
even
good.
have one of our neuroanatomy professors who I co-teach the medical student course with. She comes over and does a whole series of lectures on neuroanatomy review right before the write exam.
You will get a quality. I will say one of the biggest things that we could talk about this later in the resident breakout is the education. And I know it sounds like very cliche, education's so great, but I'm not gonna lie, our lectures in the morning and during the day just really help me. Even when I'm not ready to review a topic, I am ready after that lecture, and I realize that, okay, I need to go over this again, or I don't need to go over this again. You know, so it's really very, very good. And we start that kind of like around December softly, and then January to get you prepared. I mean, you still have to study on your own, but at least you have a guide of where to go. Real quick, Dr. Arth, I'm sorry, there was a question about mentorship
There's
program.
a bunch of questions. Yeah, I wanted to get to those. Go ahead.
All right, go ahead. I mean, well, I don't know how to pop this thing up, but anyway, the mentorship program I think is very unique. Well, it's not unique. I'm sure all the programs have it, but our program has a resident mentorship. A senior resident is paired by Dr. Hart with a junior resident. In some ways trying to match specialties. So if I'm in epilepsy, so I may take someone who's interested in epilepsy under my wing. And then we provide mentorship throughout the year. And that's on a resident level. So you have a resident level mentorship, and we kind of go over, I would have dinner with my mentee. I had a few mentees, I don't remember how many times we went to dinner, but we do that. We talk about topics, personal, professional, kind of guiding them the way I go through it, because I've walked those footsteps, they're coming behind me. Number two, we also have a faculty mentor program that's done quite early, which is very good for you to actually get paired up with a mentor. Again, mostly in the specific area of interest, and we have a wide variety of faculty in different disciplines. And if not, if you just want to just be with Dr. Blonde and you're not interested in epilepsy, just because, then you can do that too.
Many
And they
people have done that.
Yeah. So, and I've had
with Dr. Blonde.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I know I keep talking about dinner, but I'm a Italian Puerto Rican, so food is big. So I have the dinner, we talk, it's really very nice, and it's helped me a lot with even just dealing with how to handle consult or things like that. So you have 2 levels of mentorship. Does that answer the question that was on the chat room?
Yeah, there were a few other questions. What's the most important quality you look for in an applicant? It sounds really corny, but I'm just looking for someone who is passionate about neurology. Because when you're passionate about it, it's not doing work and staying late to see an extra consult, or like my resident yesterday who said, oh my God, I saw Wallenberg today, it was so cool. That just makes the whole day go better. So someone who wants to be here, who wants to do neurology, who wants to stay up late and look at that extra MRI and read about that extra syndrome, that's what I think makes a good candidate. In terms of neuro-ophthalmology, yes, we do have significant exposure to neuro-ophthalmology. We have a whole neuro-ophthalmology course that runs in the fall. Our chief resident last year has now gone on to do a fellowship in neuro-ophthalmology, so you will get plenty of exposure to neuro-ophthalmology. And Dr. Matthew, there was a question in there about telestroke. If you and Dr. Caruana maybe want to handle that one a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. So with regards to the telestroke, so good evening, guys. I'm Dr. Matthew. So I'm one of the stroke attendings, but one of the things that we do for telestroke is that, so as Dr. Hart was mentioning, we have a mobile stroke unit, which is actually driven with telestroke capabilities. And so what we typically do is that oftentimes one of the consult residents, so earlier it was kind of more based on whether you were interested or not, but as time has gone on, kind of it's been more of a, we've been trying to make it more of a regular thing where they can actually kind of come on board and actually see how we do the telemedicine exam. And then at the same time, and after you do a couple, then you can kind of do it on your own. After you we supervise you on a couple, then you can start doing them on your own. But so that is one of the cool things that we can do here that you have the capability of learning here. And it's my personal feeling that, you know, before and as you guys are going through these different programs that you guys get exposed to or interviewing with, I would look at that to see how many of these programs are actually teaching you how to do telestroke and teleneurology, because that's probably one of the things that are probably going to stand you out later on, that type of prior exposure to telemedicine and telestroke capabilities, because these are things that are in pretty much most hospitals these days, and you should be quite comfortable doing it.
Dr. Caruana, did you want to add to that at all?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Dr. Caruana. So, you know, it's definitely a different skill, kind of using, watching kind of almost like omnipresent, like from above, just watching and kind of using the techs and the nurses as an extension of you. And you kind of the good thing is you have a lot more time to sit back and put things together and think while other things are happening. And this year we were able to incorporate it into, we did a telehealth based OSCE, or we did for the code bat training. And it's definitely different, but it's not to be cliche, it is the future of medicine. So it's important to get training in it.
There were some, I'm having a hard time keeping up with all these questions. There was, wait, I saw that we did that.
Dr. Hart, there's actually many questions kind of geared around a certain topic, which is and someone else can speak to it, but the resident feedback, how amenable are we to resident feedback, and how is that organized? I see a few questions about that.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to do that? Anu, do you want to do that? You want me to do that?
Anu is the chief for this year, and she, that's right. So Anu is the chief for this year, and I know she can speak to the program leadership. So the question, Anu, and there's a few here, but just generally speaking, what's the chance that they get to meet with the residents for feedback, and how is feedback accepted in the program and dealt with?
Yeah, so I mean, the first thing we have something called New Innovations, which is an online portal which everyone can submit feedback, whether it's about a specific rotation or maybe an attending or even their colleagues. Our program leadership also has an open door policy, as well as you can always knock on their door and kind of discuss things with them, or even just slip something anonymously under their door. And then always you can also talk to your chief residents just to, if you're having an issue or something you want changed or something like that. Also, and Dr. Hart, you can speak more. People will just email Dr. Hart directly too, just about ideas or things that they have that they want to see changed. So I think our program is very receptive to feedback, and we do meet occasionally to go over all of that feedback too.
Well, I would say, I mean, look at how many, we change things, not only every year, we have a retreat, we go over things, we change things mid-year. We've changed a lot of little things that may not mean anything to the people on the call because you don't know what it was like before, but, you know, adding an extra person on a Saturday, which we may change in the next few months when we review it again. So we're able to just do that and just change things based on feedback. We changed the way the epilepsy rotation works for this year, and we're able to change it in real time. So a lot of things that we do is based on resident feedback.
And I'd like to add, just kind of seeing it from my view as a faculty, you know, one of the biggest ways to really assess change or how dynamic a program is how well they've responded to this whole with COVID-19. I have to say that the whole residency in terms of the didactics that still continued and, you know, kind of continued without a hiccup. And I think that speaks to a lot of the leadership and a lot of the, you know, the communication that happens between the residents and the faculty and the administration with regards to keeping the program steadiest. So, because COVID-19 was really a challenge for all of us, especially the residency, and I think it certainly kept afloat. And I think that certainly speaks to the leadership here.
Thanks, Jason.
And I'm just going to piggyback on Dr. Matthews' comment as far as COVID. There was a question at some point, I lost it here, but about COVID and how the program has changed because of that. And having been one of the first people that was kind of in the COVID war, I call it, I'm military, so I went from one war to the other. I will say that Stony Brook, yes, you know, out of adversity comes change. And I think that for us, it really just it just bonded us so much more in a, you know, unfortunately in a tragic way, but through COVID, but we actually were able to sit down and really lean on each other so much more, dealing with all of the turmoil we had during those times, trying to get people healthy and back out of the hospital. So I think we really grew closer. I mean, we're physically separated, 6 feet, mask, all that, but mentally, I think we're just so much more cohesive. I just think that, you know, I think the faculty were just so supportive of us when we were kind of put into the COVID units, and they were just always asking and trying to find things that we can help us with. That's like says a lot about a program. They didn't just say, okay, let the residents do it. We'll deal with you guys when you come back. They were always checking in with us. And I think that's like really, really key. Also, another thing out of COVID that I enjoyed personally is the telehealth opportunities. Not just, we've always had the stroke telehealth, but now we do clinic telehealth. Now we're getting back inside the clinic, but to have telehealth available now, and we're very, very, I think this university is very IT oriented. Like it is outstanding, the IT support. So I think the telehealth also helped because it allowed us to still do the care we need and learn how to use computers. Because when you go out in the real world, telehealth is a lot of what you do. So I think it's really key that we were able to do that. We all kind of went through the growing pains together, and it's great. You know, it's great now. So those are two main things, that cohesiveness and that advancement in education, I think came out of COVID.
I see a bunch of other questions that I want to get to. One about if residents have concerns, either about academic, forgot you guys live together, either about academic concerns or emotional concerns. And I want to bring this up because of what we just heard about with COVID. And the institution's response, in addition to that wellness respite area, there were a number of wellness activities that the psychiatry department was hosting during that time. Both before and after that time, there's a big focus on wellness. When we were allowed, we brought in puppies for everybody to play with to help de-stress. The GME, the institution office, has 2 specific psychiatry faculty members that are dedicated specifically to be available to work with residents, where it's completely anonymous. There is no chart in the system at all, and our residents are really encouraged to reach out to them. We have their numbers posted everywhere. And yes, I frequently have people come and talk to me about whatever it is that they're concerned about. It could be, you know, I'm having a baby, what should I do? It could be having struggles about academics, about your mother, whatever it is. And if you don't want to come to me, there's Doris. So Doris is our program coordinator, otherwise known as everybody's mother. So everybody goes and sits with Doris and talks about literally everything. Why their last boyfriend broke up with them, why they had a miscarriage, what dress they're going to buy for their wedding. I'm not making up any of these examples. So there are plenty of outlets for that. And there's plenty of academic support for residents that are struggling. So yes, we do have all of those things. In terms of particular subspecialties that Stony Brook is strong on, that's a tough one. I think we're strong in a lot. Off the top of my head, I'd have to say, not for any particular reason right now, epilepsy, stroke, and probably neuroimmunology. Dr. Coyle is one of the world's biggest experts in MS and Lyme disease. So I would say those are probably our 3 biggest subspecialties, and we really have a lot here. So I don't think there's anything that there's no kind of patient that you won't see. Let's see, what else did I miss? There was a question about clinician educator, so a person after my own heart. Yes, so in addition to making the residents do teaching, yes, there's lots of opportunities. If anybody wanted to get involved in an educational research project, do something with me, do something with the GME office. There's lots of opportunities to do things like that. We have also had residents 2 years ago, we had one of our residents elected to AOA by the graduating medical students for his role as teacher. So there really is a big focus on that. Do we have a town hall? We don't really call it a town hall. We just call it a resident meeting. But yeah, that's basically what it is. So we have a meeting once a month. I tell them some of my concerns. They tell me some of their concerns. And we try to do that about once a month. I don't know if my faculty have anything else that they sort of want to talk about from their perspective about what it's been like here, especially because you all came from other places.
I'll talk. So, I think you'll hear a lot of programs tell you, oh, our residents basically could just graduate and they could just become stroke attendings without a fellowship. I heard that here, and then I also came from a program that said that. And, that just speaks to how much the field of stroke is advancing. And, how it's the, number one emergency that you see in the emergency rooms, and most residencies are at stroke centers. But it's more than that here. I really do have to say that. It's just, you see all different types, all different etiologies, all socioeconomic classes of, patients out here. And you get to deal with also the, from a social case management standpoint, you see the patient from the moment they hit the door until the time that they're discharged to rehab, and you really become very good at talking to families, and it becomes second nature. So if anyone's interested in stroke, I think that this program is really good for that.
Sorry.
Sorry, Eileen. I think I might just say that it's also, when you're looking at programs, it's difficult because it's your only time being exposed to many of these programs, and it can be kind of a snapshot in their history. But it can be helpful to look for programs that are in a growth phase and are, expanding and improving. And I think that's one of the exciting things about Stony Brook. We have a new chair this year. The residency has expanded now, to an additional spot. And I think with all of those growths, there's opportunities, just particularly for a residency, as it expands in size. It really frees up time for additional experiences, electives, provides support and rotations that were particularly challenging. And so I think it's an exciting time to be coming to Stony Brook as we are building new programs and new opportunities. And it's nice to be, a part of that excitement.
There were a couple of questions I didn't want to ignore about diversity. I'm going to have Eileen answer that, but I want to say one thing first. We had our institutional GME meeting on Monday, and the institution as a whole is going to really be starting some diversity training for everybody. So they're actually going to have each department have a faculty member that gets trained specifically in teaching the rest of that department how to understand diversity in lots of areas. In fact, what they're starting with is LGBTQ diversity. That's what they're rolling out first. And then they're going to branch that out to a lot of other aspects as well. So that's just one example of what the institution is doing as a whole. But I also think that Eileen is able to answer some of those questions in a different way as well.
Thank you, Dr. Hart. Yeah, there were some questions about, we can talk about this in a minute, but the diversity, yes. I think it's, I grew up in Brooklyn. I'm Black, Puerto Rican, and Sicilian. So hit, check mark. I'm there, you got me. Now, one of the things I loved about Long Island was just, I never came out here when I was in Brooklyn, but I come out here and I don't know anything about it. Our patient population, this is also a question in the chat box. I don't have the specific numbers, but our patient population is actually more diverse than you think. When I'm coming from Brooklyn, I'm coming to Long Island, I'm thinking I'm just going to get a very homogenous population, but actually a lot of Spanish speaking. We have a huge Ecuadorian, Colombian population. There's a lot of African Americans. There's a very diverse population, more Spanish than I ever thought that I would be using. Thought I would lose my tongue, but actually I'm always, all my clinic is Spanish because and Latinos, because there's so many. So I think you're going to have
the whole clinic is not Spanish.
my
They
clinic
just
is
happen
Spanish.
to go to you. I just want to make sure you don't speak
Sorry,
Spanish.
I'm sorry.
You're gonna be okay.
I'm sorry. I do adopt my people. I say, let's come into my office. So, you know, and Dr. Harth actually speaks Spanish, interestingly enough, very good Spanish. And her and I always go back and forth. She always checks with me about, is this the right word? Is this the right word? So we do a very nice job of trying to include that. So you're going to find diversity. I cannot tell you how diverse this program is. I mean, enough. And so I didn't know that coming out here. So that was a shock for me and a pleasant one.
And socioeconomic status too. I mean, we've got
Exactly.
a lot of
Brentwood.
uninsured.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Stony Brook is kind of weird because it's not really a private hospital. It's actually a state funded hospital.
Yep.
So we do take all of those uninsured patients as
Absolutely.
well. So you're going to get diversity of ethnic background, diversity of socioeconomic background, diversity of the diseases that you see. You will see bread and butter. You're going to see migraines. You're going to see headache. You're going to see back pain, but you're also going to see the really cool stuff.
Like neurocysticercosis, you're going to see some great, stuff, anorexia nervosa. I mean, you're going to see so many things that I think sickle cell manifestations, so there is a very nice population. I was very, very, very pleased with that. Number two, though, as far as the community, the faculty and the staff of the Stony Brook Hospital, they have always had a diversity committee. And I've always sat on the multicultural committee and trying to increase interactions on the hospital for Black History Month, Latino History Month, and Asian History Month, and things like that. So that's always been there. We've never not had that. However, with Black Lives Matter and all the social movements that have occurred over, unfortunately, during COVID, but so we couldn't really be gathered together, and we were still learning social platforms. We got together on Zoom. And the hospital has revved up their initiative for diversity committee. I sit as the chair of a subcommittee under that diversity umbrella. There's many different aspects. I sit on the recruitment committee for diversity. So for underrepresented minorities. So we're trying to get more to come out here. Like, hey, we're out here, we're good. That I think is key. And we're going to do a lot of things in the high schools. We're going to do it in the college. SNMA is here, which is Student National Medical Association. And they will, we will all get together. We have it's very complicated, but it's a 3-tier platform in order to increase that representation and that recruitment. So it's really, really big. I'm telling you, I'm really upset I'm leaving, but it's big. I think we're going to do great things of bringing people out here. It's a great program, but I don't know how many people know of it. So I'm glad there's so many participants on this call because it's definitely needed to know about this little gem, little secret out here on the island. But yeah, there are many initiatives. So you should.
And Eileen is also being modest because she actually had a poster accepted at AAN last year about some of those initiatives.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm very passionate about it. And we have our program alone, even neurology is very committed to it. And I have people behind me that, even though I kind of tell them they're going to do the job, but they're very happy to do it, to take over after I leave. So I think we have to keep it going. So I'm really excited to have all you guys on board here because you guys come here, we're going to make it happen. So, all right, that's all I'm going to say.
So I'm thinking it's already 8:52. I don't have a specific end time, but I do want to make sure that you get some kind of private Q&A time with the residents. So I want to sort of have the faculty and I leave, but if there's any one last thing that has to be faculty level, someone shout it out now.
I just want you guys can comment, but there's a couple of questions about the research opportunities. So if you want to comment, I'm very involved in research, but it's definitely here, but someone else.
So research is available to the level that you want it. I want everyone to do something. And I don't even call it research, I call it a scholarly project. So I have had residents say, I'm really interested in education. I want to make a curriculum. I want to do this, I want to do that. Hey, that counts. If you aren't really a research person and you're mostly a clinical person, but you saw a really cool case of transverse myelitis that was with Guillain-Barré at the same time after a vaccination. Yes, that's what happened. And you wanted to write that up and submit that. Hey, that's really cool. And that also still furthers the neurologic literature. So some people, hey, I just want to do a case report and that's I fulfilled my requirement and that's it. Other people, we've had people do 10 different research projects. We have one guy who's left, did a stroke fellowship, is a faculty member somewhere else, is still doing research projects with some of our residents here, stroke projects. So, you know, I guess he got the research bug. I don't know that I was directly responsible for that, but yeah, so lots of opportunities, and it's as much as you want. There is time when you have elective time to do research, but we definitely have people like this one particular person I'm talking about. They manage to do it all the time, even when they're on busy rotations like consults and night float. I don't really understand it. It depends on what you want and how you want to do it. We also have the university on the other side of campus. So there's lots of opportunities for collaboration and things like that.
Yeah, I have about 2 to 3 papers a year accepted across the board. And I'm saying that because you don't have to stay stuck, and especially if you think that you want to do a MS, but you're interested in a case, you find the faculty to do that. I have a stroke project, I have MS project, I have the minority project, underrepresented minorities, I'm across the board. So epilepsy, so you can do that because whatever interests you, research is just a question, right? Let's answer it. And that's what the faculty is there to do. So.
All right, so we're the grown-ups are going to leave the call now. I don't think I can leave without ending. So I am just going to tell you that I'm turning off my camera and my mic and leaving my office, and I promise I'm not here, but I feel like if I hit end, you're all going to disappear into cyberspace. So you have my word that I'm not still listening. Okay, it's great to meet you. Please be patient with us. Those of you who've already submitted your application, we've gotten more applications than ever before. So we are trying to be thorough about this. It is going to take some time. We do have a rolling policy. So yes, our first interview is coming up in the first week of November, but if you haven't heard from us, that doesn't mean you're never getting an interview. So we're kind of sort of send stuff out as we get to it, but if we didn't get to it, that doesn't mean we're not going to get to it. So, and I think everybody's experiencing the same thing. So everybody's applying hot and heavy this year. So please just be patient with us. Okay. All right. I'm not here anymore. Okay. Thank you. And thank you so much to my speakers, to Dr. Blond, Dr. Matthew, Dr. Caruana. And I leave you in the very capable hands of Anu, Eileen, Shlomo, and Ellen. Make sure you give Shlomo a chance to talk. He's one of our PGY1 who's a lot of fun and can tell you about medicine. Okay, bye.
Good luck, everyone.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for coming. Good luck.
Hi, can I start with a
Shlomo.
question? Oh, sorry.
Hi, I'm sorry. I just want to say hi to Shlomo. Hey, I don't think we've really officially met. How are you? Good to see somebody, fresh face. All right, good. All right, I'll shut up now. I just have to, this is all we got, Zooms.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, oh my God.
Hi,
All right.
Shlomo.
Hi, how's it going?
All right, go. Sorry. Who was first?
Do we have a question?
Yes,
Oh
we
yeah,
had a
so
question.
I kind of wanted to ask a question. So I live next to Nassau County. I want to know how expensive housing is in that area and where do you guys generally stay? I know the program wrote on the website that they would like you to be within 20 minutes of the hospital. So what what do you guys recommend, or what's feasible or affordable? Just a little bit about the area.
So there's a bunch of different options. So yes, one of our requirements is that you do have to live within 20 minutes of the hospital. That's because if you're on call and you have to come back in for a stroke code, you need to be accessible. That being said, depends on what you're looking for. There's definitely different options. Eileen can speak about where she lives and where she lived during residency. She lived at the VA hospital, which has very affordable housing. If you live in an apartment complex, it is a little bit more expensive, but people have roommates, i.e. Shlomo and Ellen. They can talk more about that. I live in a house off of someone's house. It's like a private apartment, but it's attached to someone's house. So my is a lot cheaper and it's a 1-bedroom and I don't have roommates, but I don't know if anyone else wants to say anything.
Guys, I don't know if you can hear me. So I live in an apartment with a roommate. Our rent is $2,400 for two, so it's about $1,200 each. I think most of the apartments in large complexes like Fairfield, Avalon, or the Enclave are around that price point. With Avalon, I think it's like $1,500 a person, and I think the Enclave in Coram is like maybe $1,000 a person. It's slightly cheaper, so the apartments are pretty affordable.
And sorry, for reference, my like studio off, I pay $1,100 a month for everything.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I pay $250 a month. What? Thank you.
He's living that VA lifestyle,
So,
which you
yeah.
guys are all more than welcome to do if you come here.
So let me give you a quick thing on that. I mean, it's New York, right? It's expensive. I've been married 23 years. I have 2 grown kids. I came up here. I'm not with my family. My family's down south where I'm stationed, and we have a house down there. So my decision, I'm just telling you this so you know my decision on why I chose to stay at the VASPA. We call it the VASPA, but the VA. Was because I already have a house. I'm paying my rent down there already, on my mortgage. So I just needed something to lay my head. I'm mostly in the hospital anyway, or out and about town hanging out. So I just need somewhere to lay my head. So the VA is a rotation that you do through your 4 years. And it's very convenient when you're at the VA because I walk across the street. And I'm in a gated community with a golf course on the 3rd floor penthouse is what I tell everyone. Okay, it's 1920 built home, dorm style kind of living. You have your own room and you share a common space in the kitchen and the bathroom, but it's very vacant. There's not a lot of people, so it's not like you really have to worry about all that. So if you want to live the high rolling life during residency and not wait till after you get your money as an attending, then you can just live in like by yourself, hanging out, do what you do. I don't know. But for me, I wanted to save money. I paid off all my credit card debt. And I have 2 kids in college. So unfortunately, I was a little forced to do that. But if you guys are not really into the high rolling life and you just want to save money and pay off things, then stay at the VA, excuse me. $250 a month. They may go up a couple dollars when you come here, and you have everything you need. You don't really, so if anyone has questions about that, please, let me know. But it is about, I will say the only caveat on that though, it is a little bit far. It's about, well, I make it in 22 minutes, but it's probably like 34 minutes. So what I do is we have a call room that I've sort of shuzhied up and made it into like a feng shui kind of place. So I kind of stay there when I'm on call because I just feel better. I'm different than others, but for $250 a month, I'm okay with that, so that's just depends on everyone's personal situation. But the houses about Port Jeff are really great. People share houses all the time. They get ladies who want to just rent out rooms. Totally amenable, and you're right down in Port Jeff, which is like literally around the corner from Stony Brook. So there's plenty of options.
Yeah, $250 seems really impressive.
Yeah, thanks.
Hi, I'm Vanessa, a current applicant. I just had a question about culture within the residents and the fellows. I'm wondering kind of a specific question that will give me a better picture. If you're working nights and you have a question overnight, who do you feel comfortable reaching out to? Is it a co-resident, a senior resident, an attending? Like who is your go-to person?
Attending and my senior residents and my co-residents and everybody.
Yeah, so the way that it's structured right now, kind of like Dr. Harth mentioned, our night float is just a PGY2, which is a junior resident. So if there's something you're uncomfortable about, if you have a question, you're more than welcome to call your senior who may still be at the hospital with you. They may be at home, or to call your attending. Our attendings are so welcoming and they're so great. You get to know them on such a personal basis. So I feel comfortable calling them at all hours of the night. Maybe they don't love me for that, but they're very, very open to that. But as Dr. Harth mentioned, by the time you guys come here, there will be a senior night float in place. So I do think your senior will be right there too. So I think your senior will probably be handling a lot more of your questions and concerns, which kind of now we rely a little bit more on the attending. So the dynamic there might change a little bit. In terms of medicine, I'm sure Shlomo can tell you kind of how night float works for him on the medicine level.
Yeah, on the medicine level, there's a lot of seniors on actually for internal medicine. You always have someone that's on the floor with you, and then you always have other seniors available at all times. Especially in the beginning, you always had someone to ask, and everyone's very friendly. They don't leave you alone to dry, so it makes it pretty easy.
I'm pretty sure the medicine program is the same, Shlomo, but I'm not going to, the medicine program here, and you'll see me here say amazing a lot just because I just really do like this program. And I'm a pretty deep critic, but medicine program was great. I mean, they treat you like a resident in their program, not just some, prelim coming in, giving you more call, making you do the scut work because you're only going to be there a year to help their residents out. You are their resident and they treat you as such. If there's an issue, there was issues, I know some of my other co-residents during the prelim year about the call not being as equal, but that was actually a mistake. And then when we brought it up, they were like, oh my God, so sorry. So, they actually treat you exactly like you should. And the seniors are great. I have a very close relationship with my medicine year. Very close relationship. We actually, we still hang out and talk and stuff like that. So this is not just a one and done. These people stay your friends forever. And I know Anu is also very close with her in medicine. I'm sure Ellen as well. And Shlomo, you'll just for you too, I had a great medicine year.
Yeah, we're like fully integrated with the medicine people.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. And again, one of the strongest points about this program, as corny and cliche as it sounds, but it's the truth, it's the attendings. I mean, I did another residency before this and in a more subspecialty field, and it was kind of malignant, but that's par for the course for the specialty. But when I came here, I was actually a little paranoid, why are you asking me how I'm doing? So they are very good, such a strong program with the attendings. I could call at 4 a.m. and I could just be like, I can't believe this lady came in. She drank it, and I'm making kind of comments and she'll come back at me like, yeah, I know, but we got to do it. They don't care. They don't care. 4 a.m, 3 a.m, 2 a.m. None of that. They're ready and waiting. And when I'm saying, I'm sorry, I'm calling you, they're like, don't be sorry. This is where I'm on call. So it makes you feel at ease immediately when you get on that phone call, because no one's happy at 3 a.m. to be called or make the call. So immediately they put you at ease. So you feel like you can really present that patient. So I think that's really, really good. That's why I said I worked in a different system where the faculty were and us were one-on-one. So it was very good. Any other questions about you know what? There was a question about Long Island. I sort of addressed it a little bit in the original session. You'll find a lot of people that come to Stony Brook are from the local area, granted, but we have a lot of people from different areas as well. And it kind of all say the same thing. And just like Dr. Hart was saying, not to repeat, but it is the best of both worlds. When I'm in that hospital and it's crazy and I'm just I'm just running around, the pager, it's so much social interaction and stimulation. When I walk outside the hospital, I really need that calming factor. I don't want to walk out and have to deal with the drama out in the city. That's just me. I want to be able to deal with all the craziness in the hospital, walk out and be able to relax and get home and not have to get on 5 subways and do what I need to do and go through 500 people and try to, deal with all that. I just didn't want to deal with that. So coming out of your workday, you actually have the breath of fresh air, you have the trees, as elementary as that sounds, you really do appreciate it when you're in residency and you come out and there's so much to do. The residents, another strong point of the program is that we actually get along really well. I mean, Hart and them, I don't know how they do it, but they pick such a great group every year. And the residents are involved in picking a little bit. They kind of give a score. It's a very informal thing though. It's nothing they just want to hear our feedback because the most important thing is a gel. We need a team. When you're in the trenches and it's 3 a.m, you want to cry and you want to, you know, just kill the ED because they keep calling you for vertigo and whatever. I call Anu, I'm like, Anu, I can't take this guy. She's like, I know. So that you need, you can get anything from a program, education, all that, that's great. It's all the same. And trust me, neurology is AAN poses, you have to do this, this, and this. Your education's the same, but who you're sharing that with through those 4 years, that's the most important thing in the world. That faculty will always be there, and your residents are very important. Those are the people you need to really worry about, because that's how it's going to make you or break you, is that interaction. Again, coming from a prior residency and dealing with not so much that, I could have made it, but I didn't want to. It was not what I wanted to do. So when I came here and I realized what a family we have, it's really great. We go to wine. There's a lot of wine out here, and I love wine. We go to the North Shore. She'll show you a map, Dr. Harther. You can look at a map. We have a lot of wine country out here. We do pumpkin patches. We go to people's houses. We just hang out. We, you know, pop the champagne. We do what we have to do to relax and release. Okay. And I mean, Anu can speak. We just get together after clinic, just go to Chili's, whatever, you know, it just doesn't matter. And then we have some more formal events as well. So we really do get together quite a lot. So as COVID kind of retarded us a little bit, I feel bad that we don't get together as much, but we're trying to get back on that track.
We do, just to piggyback of what Eileen said, we do have wellness chiefs that get picked every year.
That's right.
And they are in charge of like organizing events. So again, like Eileen said, COVID kind of put a damper on things, but I think the next big event they're going to have is just like a Friendsgiving, and then they're going to organize a Christmas party or holiday party. So yeah, just some examples.
We have to do the white elephant thing. We need to do that again. Okay, anyway, but we'll talk all fun. And everyone's birthdays and baby showers and all that, we celebrate.
Wedding
we have
showers.
like wedding showers. Yeah. We try to find anything to celebrate with. So, and Doris is just amazing. She'll sneak us in food. She'll do, you know, it's great. It's really a very warm environment.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I had a quick question on how the program views people with young children or like pregnancy and all that kind of stuff. Are they supportive of it, or do they discriminate against it or anything like that?
Yeah, of course. I think that's a really good question. Our program is actually really good about that.
Very fertile program. We have a
very fertile program. I think every year we have a couple residents who either get pregnant or get someone pregnant. And yeah, no, it's actually pretty good. So I will say most residents, obviously, if they're planning on having families, they usually wait until 4th year, just because we have a lot more elective time 4th year. Not saying you can't do it any other time. It just might be a little bit easier then. So we tend to pull all their elective time, and they all graduate on time. They have families. Dr. Harth loves it every time she finds out someone's pregnant. So right now I can speak for my class. There's 4 of us. One of us is currently on maternity leave. She's coming back right after Thanksgiving. And another one of us, his wife is due actually around Thanksgiving as well. So our program is very receptive. The year before Eileen's year, we had Katie
and Ryan. Yep, Katie and Ryan. So Katie was actually, and this is all about you and your organization. You're able to do it within the program. Like she said, Dr. Anu was saying that you can graduate on time. Yes, because a lot of people fear that. I get it. I had kids in med school, so that was a while ago. So I know what it's like to feel very pressured by that. But you just take all that elective time, you take all that vacation time, you lump it all together, you do it at a certain time, you let the program know, and the plan is there. As long as you set it up, that should be good to go.
And I will say, I know, speaking for my co-resident Jane, who is on maternity leave right now, she got 11 weeks off. But again, she pulled some of her vacation in too.
Yeah.
So it is a decent amount of time for a resident.
And my seniors, all of them had kids, at least one or 2 babies. Yeah. Everybody. It was just babies everywhere. It was very interesting. It was great, though. It was great.
Thank you. Question. I have school-age children. Can anyone speak to the schools in the area? We can get you in contact. I personally can't because I do not have children. But I know Ryan had his kids in school as well as Alex. I don't know if you know anything, Eileen.
The school system is perfect here. And I know I
Yeah.
keep saying, I feel like I'm like being this, but I'm not kidding. Like I should have gone to school out here. I went to, you know, whatever in Brooklyn, but I really love it. There are some private schools, there's public schools, very, very good. Daycares are close. There's a daycare on Stony Brook actually as well. You just have to, you have to you have to juggle, sorry, it is a struggle, but juggle just basic childcare with your co-partner and deal with that, because we do have a system where we're out at a certain time, and I know daycares end at a certain time. So unfortunately, you do have to kind of organize that, but that's everywhere. You're not going to find that like anywhere.
Yeah.
We're not, you know.
And we can get back in contact with you regarding specifics, just because as Dr. Hart mentioned, a lot of our residents also stay here to be attendings. So they all have children at some point, and we can probably get you some more specifics on that.
Yeah, the Port Jeff schools are on the map. They're very very well known out in Stony Brook.
Any other questions?
I have one question. I know that Dr. Hart mentioned that you had like the respite areas during COVID, but I wanted to ask you guys specifically, how was the treatment for you guys? Like, did you have enough PPE? And did you, like all the other complaints I'm seeing a lot in New York City hospitals, how do you feel you guys were treated?
I can speak to that because I was on internal medicine during COVID, so I was still an intern, and internal medicine dealt with COVID before the other programs were pulled in. So I think in terms of how we compared to New York City, we got hit 2 weeks later than New York City. So I never felt like PPE was an issue. Like I had friends in the city who said they didn't have an N95 for a very long time. That was never the case for us. We were lucky. And then the other thing is we never ran out of vents. I think there was a week when we hit our ventilator capacity where like people who possibly needed to be intubated, unfortunately there wasn't enough. But I know that I just think compared to the city, we did a lot better. And I think we're very lucky to be a state institution that has a lot of resources. We have a lot of donations from the community too. So I feel like, so I trained at Downstate as a med student, which is one of the SUNY Downstate. So Kings County, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Kings County Hospital, Bellevue, or any of the NYH&H hospitals. A lot of them are kind of notorious for being like under-resourced and understaffed. And as a resident, I had a friend who was part of the, I guess, COVID response at Downstate. And she said the peds residents there were running adult COVID wards and doing all of the ABGs, like the arterial blood gases on their patients, which I feel like is really admirable. But I have to say, I never had to do anything like that at Stony Brook. And we had like enough staff to kind of take care of everything. So we were lucky. And I think that's part of why we had like a pretty low mortality rate. So that's kind of my perspective, is that I felt like we were very well taken care of. And part of that is because Dr. Lane, the internal medicine program director, really protected the residents, especially the medicine residents. Like she protected the interns so much. I can't even like express it. She like made sure we didn't do COVID swabs on patients. She made sure we had enough PPE. She gave us free lunch every day for the entire duration of the pandemic. So I had a very positive experience like being a medicine resident at that time.
Any other questions? I think Ellen.
Hey there.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Chris. So I was curious about your guys' perspectives on the change to the 5+1 system. So I can see how it's superior to the outpatient clinics that some programs have, where it's just like an afternoon. But I was wondering if any of you are looking to go into inpatient neurology, if you feel like it takes away significantly from inpatient experiences or professional explorations if you have decreased elective time.
So I'll speak to that because I don't think any of the other years have had the 5+1. It's just my year to start. So I want to do inpatient actually, but I think clinic just gives you like a different set of a different set of chief complaints, like non-inpatient neurologic complaints. And I think to be well-rounded, you need an outpatient experience too. Just like any outpatient neurologist, in my opinion, should still know how to manage like a neurologic emergency. So I don't really think it takes away, because it's only, I think it's 5+1, so it's only 1 out of every 6 weeks. And nonstop inpatient service can get really exhausting.
Yeah, so just to add on that, so I helped make the schedule. So in terms of the number of clinic weeks that you have for the year, it comes out to about 8 or 10. So that means, 52 minus that's all of your inpatient time. So, I mean, I personally am not in the 5+1 system because, as Ellen mentioned, she's the first year who's doing it. I was still in the program where we did a half-day clinic every week, once a week. I think just looking at the numbers, you still get a lot of inpatient time. And like Ellen said, I think a lot of people appreciate it because it's a nice break from just being on the floors constantly.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Anything is possible. You can ask anything. I'm just saying, I know it's hard. This is our first Zoom session, but we're very candid. I don't really have any stake in the matter. I'm out I have my job. I'm ready to leave my fellowship. But I stayed here because I loved Stony Brook so much.
Hi.
Hi.
Good.
Hi there. I have a question. Do you, maybe Shlomo can help answer this. Do you offer procedural clinics? And what specific types of procedural clinic would you offer?
Okay, we haven't.
No, I was just gonna say, in terms of neuro, what I can say is we have an LP clinic. That specifically is when you're on your clinic week. I believe it's every, and while Ellen can correct me, I think it's every Tuesday and Wednesday. Or Wednesday, Thursday. So every Wednesday, Thursday morning, you're assigned to one of 2 attendings who do LPs, and they let you do it basically. And that's the main procedure that we do.
We also have a Botox clinic that is not officially, I'm into Botox and stabbing people because my former residency was neurosurgery. So I like to still cut and do things. So you can do Botox. We have we have a really good Botox program where they come in, they give us food and in the mornings, and they do that. We have like a Botox month where they teach you how to do all the Botox, do all the injections on a dummy, and then you can set up your own Botox clinic under the attending, obviously, and you can just Botox away. So I Botoxed away. I had my own TPI clinic. I did pretty much the TPI for the entire hospital, which is a trigger point injection. Loved it. So you can just make it what you want. If you tell Dr. Art that's what you want to do, she'll put you in the program. So instead of having just a regular outpatient clinic, once a month I would do the Botox. And not many people were, I was like one of the ones that were kind of interested in it, so I just made it happen.
And sorry, Shlomo can talk about the medicine part.
Yeah, in medicine, you can honestly do any procedure you want. I mean, as an intern, you're not signed off, so you need to have supervision. But any procedure that you want to do, you're able to do. And there's even, I think there's an elective you can do. You can do like a procedural elective where you're only just basically get paid to do procedures around the hospital, like central lines, arterial lines, paracentesis, any of those midlines.
I think, Shlomo, you still have to have like 6 to certify. So during my medicine year, I did like 8 IJs, about 20 A lines, and did a lot of EJs, did a paracentesis. I don't know, I was just doing stuff. So, I mean, they'll let you do it,
A couple more than me.
Yeah. So I was signed off on all those procedures. I never used them again, but I didn't care.
Yeah.
Thank you. I also have an additional couple questions.
Yeah,
Do you
of course.
have continuing med education credits that you have to earn, or journal club, grand rounds that you can participate in?
Good question. So we have grand rounds every Friday. It's not during the summer. I forget exactly when we end, but it usually starts back up in September. Right now, it used to be in person. Right now, it's via Zoom. Our grand rounds, we invite our own speakers, attendings from our own hospital, as well as outside attendings. We had a neurocritical care from a different hospital come, I believe it was Westchester. come last week. And then tomorrow we're having one of our own faculty give grand rounds. We also have journal clubs. So our former chair, Dr. Coyle, who Dr. Harth mentioned is like this world-renowned expert on multiple sclerosis and neuroimmunology. She does journal club once every month. So depending on who's available at Stony Brook, we all get assigned, well, not assigned, you can actually pick from a bunch of different articles that are available. And then we kind of sit for an hour. Sometimes there's pizza and we just go over all of the articles in like a informal presentation.
CME credit is not really something that you have to have as a resident. If I remember correctly, you get it deferred. Like for your license, you really don't need to have the extra CME credit, but grand rounds, you get a CME credits for every time you attend grand rounds. Then your AAN conference, you get CME credits. That's your bulk of CME credits when you attend these conferences. I've attended like 2 or 3, quite a few actually, in addition to AAN. So I have a lot of CME credit from that. So yeah, you're not gonna have a problem with that.
Hi, I'm Estefania. I have 2 questions. I wanted to ask how much you get to learn how to read EEGs, and also if the program has any bias towards DOs.
I think the program's heavy on DO. I'm MD, but I think so.
I'm a DO. So I can say our program is not biased. Just going based off of my year, there's 4 of us and 3 of us are DOs. So our program is not biased against DOs at all. Yeah, I don't know if anyone else wants to mention
No, it's very friendly. Yeah, I don't see a difference. We were all MDs in mine, but that was just a fluke. It's all about the personality fit at this point. If you're chosen to be in interviews and stuff, then it's just personality. That's just the last step at that point. There was something I wanted to say. What was the question?
My other question was if we get to learn how to read EEGs like as residents.
Yeah. 4 weeks.
So during residency, one of our graduation requirements is that you have to do at least 4 weeks of EEG. Dr. Harth had mentioned it earlier. We actually kind of changed our epilepsy rotation into, it used to be called EEG. Now it's more of an epilepsy rotation. So that person now, not only are you reading EEGs, but you're also taking care of the patients who are admitted to the epilepsy monitoring unit. So that's something new that we're kind of starting this year. But I do think that we get a lot of exposure to EEGs. Like during the boot camp, we get a lot of just introduction on how to approach an EEG, et cetera. We have epilepsy conferences once a month, if I'm not mistaken.
Twice a month, but yeah,
Sorry.
One is kind of resident driven, and the other one's more of like we do a lot of episurgical cases, intracranial mapping, and really cool things with the neurosurgeons. So we're very good, and I should know this, but I don't, but it's okay. We won like some award, and now we're like a comprehensive epilepsy center, and we're actually on the US News World Report independently as an epilepsy program. So it's what you make out of your weeks. Okay. So if you're sitting on EEG and you want to go and like have lunch for 12 hours, I mean, I'm not going to sit there and like get on your case, and well, actually I do, but I want you to learn, and so now that we have fellowship kind of set in place, you get to write a report during your week. That's very important. You get to read all the, EEGs to learn the most prominent. You're not going to get the detail, but you're going to get the most prominent features. So when you're out on the world in the floors, you can look at an EEG and say, okay, maybe this person is at least identify a seizure. That would be helpful. Mm-hmm. Right? So you do get it, but it's what you make out of it. Some people would come and they would just be like, okay, but now that's why I think they're trying to make it more structured instead of people just using it to just go do whatever they do, get their teeth done or something. So now it's good, but it's what you make of it. We have like 10 epilepsy attendings, just so you know. Great people. They are so quick to like pull you over and say, look at this. And they show you all the sharps, and you're like, oh, okay. So there's a lot of epilepsy attendings.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And on that note, does the program tend to take people from in-house for the fellowships?
No.
I have only one. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go on.
I was just
I
gonna
want to
say,
see what you
Eileen
say about me. Go ahead, do it.
Eileen's the only so there's only one epilepsy fellow this year. That's Eileen. There's 2 clinical neurophys fellows, and neither of them are from Stony Brook. Last year, Dr. Caruano, who's one of the attendings before, she was our stroke fellow. She's not from Stony Brook. So yeah, our program is not just like biased towards our own people.
My co-fellows are CMP fellows, clinical neurophys. They're both from Westchester. I don't know how we got both of them from Westchester, but they both really want to stay here. And so we said, oh, sure, you know, I mean, it seemed like a good fit, and it is a good fit. We do have for the epilepsy coming up, and next year we have Jane, but that really was kind of like, you know, I'll be honest, we definitely are growing our fellowship program, but it was already there. It's just now we're making a little more formal. So no, it's not restricted in-house. I forced my way in, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
So you guys got the area, you know where to live, you know what the program's about. It's strong points, attending residents, diversity is there. You're not going to be a lack of that. There is support for social justice and all that. We're not out here in this world of like, you know, homogenous kind of nature. You're going to be good with that. All of our residents in the neurology program are just a huge diversity. My program, my year alone, we had, and I'm just going to be honest, is, you know, you have your Black, Puerto Rican, Sicilian, that's me, mom, military, you have moms, you have dads, you have, you know, Caucasian males, we had LGBT my year, we had Indian, no, oh my God, Bangladesh, sorry, I should say, that was the year prior, but Canadians. So
we have it all, is what Eileen is trying to say.
We really do, we really do.
And to please tell Dr. Lear I say hi. I just saw that comment. She's one of the reasons why I went into neurology. Love her.
I didn't see a comment, but.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you guys. If there's no other questions, I think we're going to end this, but please, unless someone else has something that they want to say, please feel free to reach out to us. Like Dr. Hart said, we're now active a little bit more on social media. So if you have any other questions, you can DM us. I think my email address is on the website, so you can email me if you have any questions or anything.
I don't do the Facebook or the DM, but I can do I'm old. So you can email any of us, yes.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming. I hope you all have a good night.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
You guys actually still here?